Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Hey, great, Randy. Good to be with you.
Excellent. Great to be with you as well. Certainly has been a while.
It has.
So everybody, welcome to episode 176 of Tech Sales Insights. Really excited to have Dave Cronk with us today. He's SVP of Sales for EMEA, has lots of international experience, lots of other great experiences as well to share. He currently works for Tricentis, and we have an awesome title topic, which is building teams internationally, which he has certainly done a lot of. Also, for those that are members of the sales community, thank you very much. We have Tucker behind the scenes helping, so thank you, Tucker. For those that are members, appreciate it. For those that are not, Tucker will throw up a link that you can join for free. And also, we're sponsored by Phone Ready Leads, who, for those that do cold calling and cold outreach, it sounds totally crazy, but typically the pickup rate is like 3 or 5%. If you leverage Phone Ready Leads, then you're able to get more like 25 or 30%. So kind of 5 to 10 times improvement, depending how you keep score, and have done it for lots of companies like Workday, Hitachi, TalkDesk, some VARs like CPP, CBT, E360, and a bunch of others. So thanks to Phone Ready Leads for being the sponsor. And then Tucker, just when I'm thinking about it too, maybe just throw on the link for a book. Did a book during COVID, which I have lots of friends that participated. Hopefully I asked you, Dave, I'm not sure. But anyway, so certainly lots of great content in there as well. So by way of introduction, Dave currently lives in, sounds totally nice, Valencia, Spain. So Correct. It must be a pretty cool spot, huh?
It's amazing. It's a little bit warm right now. I mean, in Spain, everyone goes away in August because it's too hot. But by and large, we're by the beach on the Mediterranean. Good food, good weather, relaxed place to live. Very nice.
Nice. Good wine too, I expect.
Very good wine. Yes.
Excellent. Very good. And by way of family, happily married to Katrina, and 8 kids, and 4 in the house. So, certainly amazing large family there, which is exciting as well, and including one, just because I'm a rugger as well, one very successful rugby player too, which is fantastic, and as well as all the other ones, and up to NC State and the colleges and all that. Yeah. So also by way of introduction, so we're trying to figure out, we met, I think, back in 2009 when I got parachuted into HP by Dave Donatelli running the Americas. That's and right. Really, I say I inherited Dave. And actually, I didn't even think about this till now, but I think I know I for sure swapped out probably most on the team, and probably one of the few that kept. So that shows that you're actually really good. And was just a fantastic experience working with Dave, or I could say for Dave Cronk, around the whole kind of build out of our Conway call center, which is really a brand new project from kind of soup to nuts, working with the state and tax, and then you had to get the people going. But then to see the end product that you actually were able to deliver with so many great people that did not grow up in Arkansas, exactly. A fantastic talent pool that actually grew up in Arkansas. Great cost of living, great training, and lots of those people are off in several areas, whether at HP or a lot of other companies. So you should certainly be very proud for what you did for all their careers.
Thank you, Randy. I loved it, right? And for me, I think, like I said to you earlier, kind of the launch pad for my career was really getting to meet you. You came in, you transformed the sales organization in a big way, and you helped everybody think differently. And that was, you think about how many people we had in Conway, we had 400 reps, right? So your ability to come in and touch their lives and get them excited about the career in sales, which is amazing, really helped everyone there, myself included. So very thankful to you for all of that.
Awesome. Back at you for sure. And also have some other surprise visitors that gave me some intro comments as well. So Bill Swales, who's executive at Lenovo now. When I think of Dave Cronk, I think of a leader who has global perspective, who develops our future leaders, who has high integrity, and someone who over-delivers on financial expectations. What a privilege to have worked with Dave in the past. And he says, boom, mic drop. I did that right. But anyway, And then also Frank Roush, who is Chief at Cato Networks. That's right. Sorry, Frank. It's been amazing to watch the around-the-world career of Dave Cronk. He was an epic teammate at HPE, leading a best-in-class sales team and developing them for fantastic future careers. And then Kevin Hooper, who's at Gartner now in the sales practice area, having worked with Dave to support him building a new inside function to seeing his career grow and expand internationally. I've always been impressed that Dave has the unique skill of being able to inspire while helping people to aspire to greatness. So some great shout outs there for you, and very, very well deserved.
Thank you. That's awesome.
So as we jump into the questions here, so you went to Concordia College in Moorhead, focused and majored in German and international relations, which sounds like it's probably served you well in your international career.
It's definitely helped. Yeah, I mean, I actually went to school studying that for a different purpose. I thought I was going to be a teacher, but could not fight off the path to sales following my dad in sales leadership. So very thankful that it's kind of wound up this way and allowed me to kind of pursue the career that I've been in.
Awesome. Fantastic. And Bill Swales looks like he's on. Hey, Bill says, love Dave Cronk. And Justin has a nice shout out for me. So thank you, Justin.
Swales, love Swales. Swales is one of the guys who came and visited me in Singapore with his son Billy. So always love catching up with Swales.
So great. And then your first job out of college was sales manager with the Aid Association for the Lutherans.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So after deciding that teaching was not for me, because I did an internship and it wasn't right. I was looking and I got connected with a guy who was selling annuities and mutual funds. And it was in a defined group, and they had an opening in North Carolina. I was like, young and dumb at the time, and I was like, "Hey, North Carolina is great because that's where Michael Jordan went to school. So I'll go to Chapel Hill area." And so I had a defined territory with members of a fraternal benefit society, and I had to go literally knock on doors of people's homes, go knock on businesses, and try to convince them to buy something I really probably wasn't equipped to sell at the time. Being a 22, 23-year-old trying to talk to somebody about life insurance and annuities and not really appreciating life at that time was a challenge. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about perseverance and kind of just stick-to-itiveness and the fact that you have to apply yourself. And, like we talked about, Randy, sales calls. I mean, that was a heck of a lot of sales calls, a lot of rejection, a lot of people asking, what are you doing here? Why are you talking to me? But you build a thick skin and you understand that you got to improve on your craft. And that allowed me to kind of move down my path in sales by doing something that for me was probably extremely difficult for at least this 22-year-old when I was 22.
Yeah, fantastic experience for sure. And then maybe kind of briefly just go through your impressive career from there.
Yeah, so from there, in the old days, we would respond to job ads in newspapers. So a company called Maricel, which was a distributor of computer hardware and software at the time, they had an opening in Cary, North Carolina. I circled the ad, I called, got an interview, came in and did a little bit of what you were talking about with the sponsor. I was dialing for dollars. So I came in as a business development rep, and it was one of these things where you had an hourly job that you were paid for 8 hours, but if you decided to stay longer, you could make more money on commission. So I figured out quickly closing sales was what mattered. So I really learned the product. It was picking up the phone and calling nonstop. This was trying to find resellers to do business with me and to buy from us versus Ingram Micro and Tech Data.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun. I moved into management with them as well. And I was a district sales manager for them, leading a team of 10 reps. And that's where I figured out really quickly, I had not been a great athlete, but I loved sports, and I had even coached through college, and figured out that sales leadership is a lot like coaching. And if you can invest in people and help them grow and develop, it's really, really rewarding. So I learned quickly that was a place that I fit. And that's a place I had passion. From there, I moved into Silicon Graphics. So we were a high performance compute workstation company. Kind of going through a tough time, I moved to Minneapolis and took on a commercial inside sales leadership role with them, running teams across Canada and the US. And that was kind of my first foray into trying to understand business internationally. Yep. You know, it's US adjacent being Canada, but it's a different market, different culture, different perspective. From there, I pivoted and I took the opportunity to go to United Health Group, and they were looking to set up their first inside sales structure to work with brokers and agents who hadn't purchased through them in the past 3 years. And that was just this nascent raw build, first focused on the individual insurance market, and then quickly moved into small business, which was companies with less than 250 employees. And we built a business model that called for us to grow at a certain rate. We were beating it in 6 months. Quickly moved from there. We built a $280 million business. And the interesting thing in insurance is renewal, just like today in software sales, renewals matter. You got to keep your customers around. You got to keep your customers happy. And so the thing that was clear at that point was we did not have enough touch points with our customers. We didn't understand what was going on with them. We had sold and left. So this was highly field sales oriented. Our president at the time, his name was Simeon Schindelman. He asked me and he said, "Hey, I want your guys to call at this rate through the year, and let's see what happens." And what happened was, on a $8 billion book of business, we increased our retention rate by 4%. So he did the math. He was a genius. He's $300 million. It's not bad. So we moved all of that over to my team, and we took that over. And it was just a really great opportunity to test something and prove it out, right? Using statisticians who were far more mathematical than me, smarter than me, but I had the ability to build a team that could execute against the plan. HP called a couple times. HP called a couple times. Second time they called was an opportunity to go do what you talked about, was to go build call centers. One in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, one in Conway, Arkansas. Jumped at the opportunity. We can talk about that more later if you want. Got some stories for you. From there, I went overseas thanks to you and Dave Donatelli. Joined Jim Merritt. That's where my APAC experience really got started. Came back to the US and worked for a company called Pearson Education. Our good friend Larry Singer recruited me to Pearson.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So Larry was kind enough to bring me in to help him with part of the business, and we built a business together and had a lot of fun with that. And then a guy named Harshad, if you remember Harshad Sardesai,
yeah,
in the Americas at HP, he was a recruiter. So he called me. He had a job at SolarWinds. Asked if I knew who would be interested. I said, "Yeah, I'll take the call." I met with my current CEO at Tricentis. His name is Kevin Thompson. Kevin and I talked for 5 months, went back and forth, and eventually convinced me, after I turned him down a couple times, that it was the best place for me to go, was the right thing to do. And he gave me a chance to go back to Singapore and build a business for him. And that was fantastic. At SolarWinds, I moved back over to Ireland and then back to Singapore. And then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Kevin called again and he said, "Hey, I'm at Tricentis. I've got an opportunity. Would you be interested?" I said, "Yep." And that's how I wound up at Tricentis. You talk about relationships. Relationships matter, and trust in people matters. And that's exactly why I'm at Tricentis.
Right. So were you at SolarWinds when they had the security breach?
I was, yes. It's a very memorable day. It was a Sunday when it was discovered. I had a call and it was, "Hey, this has been discovered. Get ready. We're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of activity going on," which was definitely the case.
Any key, obviously brutal situation.
It was.
Any kind of key takeaways or kind of lessons learned from the best practices, how to deal with it when the kind of shit hits the fan like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way the company responded, and again, led by our CEO, Kevin, was to get out in front of our customers and to get out and talk. And it was interesting because the model had been kind of bottoms up selling, and we didn't have much access to the C-suite. well, after that happened, we never had as much access to the C-suite as we had then. And so it was get out, be transparent, talk about what's going on, and be very, very clear about what the next steps are and how you mitigate things. Appreciate and understand what people are going through, because people were concerned and scared about what did it mean to them, what was their exposure, depending on if they were regulated, what did it mean to them as well. So I would say that our executive team did a great job, and then all of us kind of getting out in front of people was what made the biggest difference.
Well, so although obviously a bad situation, but kind of fast forward, really because of that bad event, you were able to get much more solid, higher level executive relationships. Is that right? We
were. I mean, we had CISO, especially CISOs calling and wanting to have conversations. And at the time we had a great CISO at SolarWinds who was magical, and listening to him talk and explain about what happened and how we were mitigating things. It was fantastic. I mean, big companies.
Any shout out to him?
Tim Brown is his name, and he's still actually at SolarWinds now.
Wow. Great. Great. Certainly top.
And the ironic thing about this is Tim and I had been sitting in my office in Singapore when he was speaking for us at a government event about a year and a half before this. And he said, as a CISO, you never want your name in the paper. And then fast forward, we had that going on, and he did a fantastic job of kind of taking care of things for us.
Yeah, interesting. Probably CrowdStrike living somewhere.
They were the first ones coming in. Yeah, on that Sunday it was discovered. They were right in with us.
Oh, amazing. So thanks for that. So besides Justin's comment, we have from a LinkedIn user, Dave Cronk is one of the nicest guys you'll meet in this business, a testament to Randy Seidl's leadership legacy. Thank you. And Tucker passed along, we think the LinkedIn user is David Noor. So thanks for that, Noor. We'll get into relationships.
That's great.
And the Noor stuff in a little bit. So tell us about Tricentis, kind of just briefly. What does Tricentis do? Who do you sell to?
Yeah, so we sell mainly to large enterprise. We dip a little bit into the mid-market, and we help with quality assurance, quality testing from a software perspective. So we help companies. There was something that happened recently with CrowdStrike, and where they had a release come out and there were some challenges. With us, that's an opportunity for us to sell and to go to them and make sure that they're testing robustly and continuously to ensure a quality release. We also do. You think about Black Friday, the load coming down on websites. We have products that do load testing as well. So it's all about quality assurance, quality testing, continuous testing.
Gotcha. So what executive level do you sell to then?
Well, we try to get into the executive level fairly consistently, and here we do a better job, but we're probably C-1 by and large is where we're going to spend the most of our time. We're moving up and trying to become more and more strategic and having a bigger conversation about strategy over multiple years as opposed to a transaction.
But what kind of functional area?
We're going to sell into the CIO.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's to the test directors of testing and automation.
Gotcha. And then with kind of your go-to-market, there's certainly a lot going on, but any particular challenges now you're working on?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple things that are challenges for us. One is just making sure that we have the right partners in our partner ecosystem to be able to deliver with confidence and competence. So us being able to scale and ensure time to value for our customers is one of the biggest things, because obviously that creates the stickiness that we're looking for. Our reach, with the size of company that we are, our ability to reach down below enterprise and into the mid-market is really going to require us to rely on strong partner ecosystem plus focused. We talked about, again, getting out in front of customers, more of an outbound motion. And so we're looking to build that out as well, because there's a lot of business there to be had.
Right. And are you hiring?
We are. And I'm sure we're hiring in the US. I don't run that business as well, but we are definitely hiring in the UK. We're looking in Germany as well right now. So we're looking for primarily enterprise sellers, so deep experience relationships, somebody who's 5 to 20 accounts would be their focus. That would be what we're looking for.
Awesome. And what would be special about the culture for those looking at Tricentis?
Yeah, I think that's, if I speak just about the team that I have, I think what we've done in Europe is we've built a really tight community, matrix community cross-function. So when you get into a market, it feels like a family. And everybody is focused on the same goal, which is how do we help our customers drive to success? And how do we ensure that we're growing? And it's really, really good collaboration. When I joined, we were a little bit more siloed and really focused on kind of organizational priorities. And now we're focused on business priorities, success of the business, and ultimately the most important thing is success of customers.
Gotcha. Fantastic. And I get the benefit of your great leadership for sure, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for me, there's nothing better than getting out with reps, getting out with customers and partners, and just getting to spend time helping people grow and develop. And, more importantly, like you did with us, getting to know the people, right? Yeah. That's the heart of everything. And that's how you maintain these relationships over the years.
Yeah, fantastic. So good segue then into our title topic, building teams internationally.
Yeah.
And, obviously, a lot of things to talk about, but I remember when I was at EMC in 1985, I got parachuted over to London. Okay, you're going to sell into Europe. And I tried to go to Germany. I tried to go to France. Okay, that didn't work. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay in the UK, which was market that was plenty big. But maybe talk to the importance of language where people are from a selling perspective.
Yeah. So for me, when again, you and Dave D helped me get to Singapore with HP, I was quite naive at the time. I looked at the APAC number being smaller, region being smaller, thinking it was, hey, this should be pretty easy. Not appreciating yet the complexity of different cultures, to your point, different languages, different ways of doing business. And so as I got in and I went around the region, seeing that, at least at HPE at the time, people were all very focused on kind of the playbook and how do we drive success. But the meeting schedules were different. The types of meetings you would take were different. And the path to success was different. And understanding culture was really, really critical to the path to success with business. And that was, for me, what was interesting was building a team that gelled well together. So we had offices in Korea, Japan, China, India, Malaysia, Philippines. And that was kind of one of the best connected teams I've had. We would have QBRs, going back to our days of QBRs, we would have QBRs in Singapore. There'd be 40 people in the room and they would walk out and they would say something felt different about the team. And it was that the team took the time to slow down, connect, understand each other, understand their perspective, and worked for the success of the team. Understanding that how we did business in India was considerably different than how we were doing business in Japan. The methodology was different, but the ability of the team to understand and appreciate, and for me to learn, was there. And that's how we got to build really strong, great teams.
That's great. So I know lots of differences depending where you go, but maybe for the two you just mentioned as examples, kind of, so how would the selling be different?
Yeah. So in India, it's a lot, for me in that business, it was a lot more fast paced. So it was a lot more aggressive, a lot more active negotiating. In my experience, Indians are some of the best negotiators, and you got to know when to call the bluff. Building up the team there was a lot of building from the bottom up, teaching people how to do what we've talked about earlier, cold calling, understanding the products well, but then they would jump and take the risk and just go for it. In Japan, we were identifying talent almost a year before we were hiring them. With the interview process was slow and methodical. The screening included making sure that since we were an international company, they spoke English, that they could present in English. And when we brought them in, getting them trained up they were much more rigorous and thoughtful about understanding everything at depth. And then in Japan, it's all about kind of culture and respect and following a process. So your access to a higher level person would not come as a more junior AE. You would have to go through and bring a boss in,
right,
or bring somebody more senior to have the conversation. You would not just be allowed to make those calls. India, far easier for us to pick up the phone, make calls, and try to pound our way into getting access.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. So one of the you said it's okay for me to jump on it a bit, but when I was in England, culturally, I found out that people from Scotland and from India did want to have kind of a good deal, did like to negotiate. So for EMC, we're competing against IBM. We were kind of the low-cost provider, similar but less. So my hit rate with those folks was much better than the traditional British, who are, maybe more, well, it's not, from the primary vendor, and what's going to happen to my maintenance and everything else. And the others, okay, I get it, let's go. So that was an interesting application of that. What about you? Go ahead.
That's a great point. And what I learned quickly as I was doing more and more business in India at SolarWinds from Singapore was you always had to leave something behind in the pocket, because when you get to procurement, they're measured.
They're going to go. Oh, yeah.
They get. So you had to leave something for them.
There you go. And what are any nuances from the pre-sale side of things?
I would say if I just kind of expand and go across EMEA as well, and when I compare, the depth and the rigor that comes in from some countries will vary, right? So when you talk about, we've just started building out in the Middle East, the number of conversations and ongoing inspection or demos, proofs of value by product is fairly intense, and it's all inside. In Germany, we go to deep depths technically to ensure that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. When you look at Spain and Italy, it's a lot. It's still relationship oriented, but it's a lot slower and more methodical. So there's a lot more relationship building that's going to happen even on the technical side, and we start with technical in those places, and then dive back into the commercials.
Gotcha. So face to face, I mean, my perspective, I would say I might be old school, but nothing like face to face. But in certain countries and cultures, it's still really kind of mandated, like it was pre-COVID.
Yeah,
okay.
No, that's right on. Yeah, we definitely have seen that in the Middle East as we continue to grow there. A guy named Dan Melville who works for me, he's doing a fantastic job. He's a high flyer, he's into great things. But he's from the UK. We moved him to the Middle East to build this business while he still owns the UK. And he keeps coming back and he's like, man, it's tiring because every engagement is face to face. I have to be in front of customers. I have to be going over to Saudi face to face to be in front of them because that's what's expected. And then to your point on the UK for us, it's still a little bit more. People are remote. People have moved away during COVID. So there's a lot more that's, we're not going to be in the office except for these days. So it's hard to get in front of people. But, like you're saying, we're pushing people to get in front because we know that face to face, you can't beat it. Yeah. You got to be with people, talking to people, reading people in person to really have the greatest impact you can have.
Yeah, absolutely. And during COVID, you actually moved twice.
We did. We didn't believe that it would be the way it was. So I was given that our international headquarters for SolarWinds were in Cork, Ireland. And so for us, going back to the rugby boy, we had a chance to send him to a rugby college, a rugby high school. And so we moved during COVID. We got in. It was great. He got into the school. And then all of a sudden they were going to school at home. He eventually was training with the first team and did a great job, but we only wound up staying 18 months before we were asked to go back to Singapore, and wound up going back to Singapore also during COVID. And one of the interesting things there was the only way you could get into Singapore at the time was by staying in Germany for over 30 days. So we moved to Bavaria and stayed in a monastery on the side of a mountain for 30 days. Great Wi-Fi, so I could work remote. But that was our path back to Singapore was over 30 days in Germany, which was a very interesting time.
Wow, amazing. And I'm going to assume this is from Noor. Great comment I was going to bring up later. But the rest of the world builds relationships first, from which they do business, which is the way I'd argue it used to be 20, 30 years ago in the US. Regrettably, if and only if the business part works, we Western sellers will think, ask, and invest in nurturing the relationships. So I'm sure you totally agree, but that the old school value of internationally building the relationships first, and then allowing you to, lack of a better word, selfishly, sell more and have a longer lasting relationship to then continue to sell more is huge.
Yeah, no, I remember Noor talking about his relationship economics and relationship equity, and you got to build up that equity, right? And you got to be off. I mean, obviously, this. I'm sure most people listening to you know this. Authenticity matters. People can read, and they know if you're authentic or you're not. People want to do business with people they trust and they like. And so, if you take the time to slow down and understand what's important to the person you're talking to, then you're more likely to be able to help them, right? And that's ultimately what I learned most in sales was when I took interest in my customers and helping them be successful was when I was making the most money and doing the best. So, the money always follows if you put the priority on the person first.
Absolutely. And you, Walter Brown, who I know you used the books through John Clavin and me, rest in peace. But, one of his sayings, and Ken Doherty's a monster disciple, and Brian Bell, but, know me, like me, trust me, right? And that has nothing to do with any PowerPoints or anything else that you're selling, but you get through those hurdles and it makes a huge difference. And then also, some of the things that, I learned, and I think you picked up as well from, Noor on the relationship side is, kind of how do you peel back that onion? How do you know, okay, where are the kids, what school are they going to, where do they go on vacation, kind of, other things that they have interest in, none of this has anything to do with business.
That's right.
I happen to be an Airbnb, but I'm not a Buffalo fan per se. But if this happened to be my home office, you'd say, hey, "What's up, your Buffalo?" And your stuff's a little too small for me to see. But it's kind of just some of that, which is the old school relationship aspect of things that used to be done in our sleep that now gets lost. So shout out for Noor and a lot of the great work that you're doing there continually on the relationship side, and cool new app, Avneer too, that I'll tell you about when we're
cool.
When we're off. So anything else before I move on from the international selling aspect?
No, I don't think so. I would encourage people though, if they're thinking about it, if they want to take a jump into that. And I know we've got a lot of friends and former colleagues who have had great careers where they've operated globally. And not everybody wants to go live somewhere else. But I think if you have an inkling to do it like you did, I think you did UK. I thought you did Australia too. I believe. Yep. It's such a great thing to do for yourself to kind of expand your horizons. So I'd encourage people to take that up and take the challenge.
Yeah, and I did it, before kids and marriage and all that. So it was a lot, it was easier. So definitely encourage you to do that. But it's amazing you do it with your kids, and I'm sure you'd say, I know from friends that have done it, just amazing life experiences for the kids, right?
It's outstanding. They at a certain point, I think it gets hard for them to stay settled somewhere, and they want to be somewhere else. They want to be outside the U.S. But it's, especially in today's digital world, they're so connected. They have friends all over the world. I think that's been a real kind of gift and a blessing to them.
Yeah, so fantastic. And I know you're kind of global mindset, but you're also very passionate about mission and purpose that are important to you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to kind of growing up in Westford, Massachusetts, and my family went to a church in Lowell, Massachusetts, where there were a lot of Cambodians settling. And this was in the early 80s. We moved there in 1981, November of 81. My dad worked for DEC, and he quickly saw that there was a need. There were people who were struggling in refugee camps in Cambodia, and he was going to Cambodia to refugee camps and helping people resettle. And so from an early age, I understood that, hey, there's a greater purpose in your life than just like being self-serving. It's to serve and help others. And so I was able to be involved with that with them. They've gone on, and there's a mission in Mexico that my dad passed away 5 years ago, but my mom still is responsible for a mission where they serve 100 kids every weekend and take care of kids. And for me, when we lived in Arkansas, it was the ability to be part of a board for homes that served kids who were abused and neglected, and actually ran the Paris Marathon to raise money for that. And it was, again, for me, it was a gift to be able to go serve and help people get out of really bad situations. And then, not felt, we have 8 kids, as you've talked about. One of our daughters, Sarah, we adopted from China. And it was just, I felt like part of our family wasn't whole at that time. At that time we had 2 kids, and she was the third. And she's made our life better, right? And so it's not that I did her a favor. She's my daughter. She was born to be my daughter. But I think, getting involved with orphanages, looking to serve other people who are underserved is something everyone should want to do.
Yeah, so great, and such a great example there. So maybe talk to, if you've had kind of 1 or 2 mentors and any specific advice that you've received that you want to share.
Yeah, so I was working at United Healthcare, and I had gone through this period where I got some feedback, and it was, hey, the team doesn't quite understand you. Your sarcasm, they can't tell if you're serious or not at times. So the company invested in an executive coach for me, a guy based out in San Francisco. And we spent time together really kind of digging into, it was also about relationships, digging into relationships, understanding how to read people, and understanding how to properly invest and help people grow, and when to set some things aside. And then we got in deeper, and it was, he started asking these questions about how much is enough, what is enough? And it was in any part of your life, right? So it's like, you've got to make these decisions in life as to what's enough, how much is enough, and where do you spend your time and how do you invest? And it really got me to slow down and look at myself a lot more, and to look at the impact I could have on others, both personally in my own home and professionally with people I'm supposed to be working with and helping. And how do words and how do your actions impact other people? And you do need to be responsible for that. You do need to think about that. So as a younger leader at that time, I was thankful that they looked at me and said, hey, you've got some raw goods here. We want to work with you. We want to help you. So that was a big deal for me, that a company like that would make that investment for me. And I wish I could remember the coach's name. I can't.
There you go. Well, if he's watching, he'll check you out for sure. And a bunch of great nuggets there for sure. But just the whole concept of just giving and getting feedback, right? So as a organization, large or small, how do you make sure that you can do it? For me, I would have people practice saying, Dave, can I give you some feedback? And then you're going to get it, and it's going to go. And I lead by example. If I go on sales calls, I'd say, hey, do you have any feedback for me? And early on, everybody's like, well, what are you kidding me? I'm not going to give you any feedback. But then they realize that I am sincere and genuine about that. And then I, in turn, could take the opportunity then as a leader or manager, say, can I give you some feedback? So it's that constant feedback between the teams. In hindsight, if United Health would have had that, you may not have needed that extra help if you're kind of along the way. And then different example, earlier in my career when I was at Sun, we had hired a same kind of 360 executive coach, and one of the things I remember is that they thought I was rude because I would be dismissive, but what they didn't understand is I was a fast learner, so I would understand what they're saying and then I would move on. So then a little tidbit I would say is if you're kind of venting on something and you just spent 3 minutes on it, maybe you want to take another 20 minutes, but then I would say, well, just time out for a sec. So what you're saying is you're frustrated because you don't have a good territory, or your manager or your product, whatever it is. So what you're saying is blah, 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 right? Yes. Okay. So I hear it. Here's some things I'm going to try and do to fix it. Are you comfortable that I understand what your issue is? Yes. And then anything else you'd want me to do different or better? No. And then they want to go through and explain. I say, I don't want to be rude, but I think I understand the issue and we have some good next steps. So I'd rather talk about something else that can help you as opposed to just reiterating what we just did, which, these days you probably have to let people vent a little bit more, and maybe you can't be as direct like that, but there are just a couple of things I thought of there. So,
the caveat to that one is if you're in the Netherlands, you can be as direct as you want to be.
There you go.
It's totally fine.
There you go.
And then the other thing I reflect on or think about is really the team that you built and the culture you built. Because when I say what I say, I mean what I mean, right? That was really the launching pad for me, and I took a lot from that team and your leadership style into my career. So I look back at that fondly, stay connected with a lot of the team, and I talk a lot, and I use that as examples for how to coach people. Just like we talked about sales calls, right? I mean, it's right on. It's like there's so much, and the thing that you led with the most was you cared about the people who worked for you, and that was. I mean, you might have been hard on people, you might have been too direct at times, maybe, but you cared, right? And you invested, and so that to me was, hey, care about the people you work with, take care of them, but also speak openly and honestly. I mean, you also looked for an active, hearty, honest debate. We were in those rooms, those horseshoe meetings and QBRs. And I think it would bother you if we wouldn't kind of argue about things at times, which It should, because everything needs to be on the table. Everything needs to be talked about. And so I think that for me gave me a lot more confidence as I moved in my career to be able to have a voice, have an opinion, and know that it was relevant, right? So, I'm very thankful to you.
Great. Thank you. And you're a huge piece of that success. So thank you. And, most important, anytime those powwows, when everybody airs it, you agree. And once you agree, then you march. You're not going to go back and torpedo or second guess, which, unfortunately happens a lot these days. So, moving on, what about your feelings on the importance of kind of sales ops and rev ops these days?
I think that's the heart of the team. And I think the challenge for me, as I came into the company, Tricentis, what I saw was our rev ops team, sales ops team was held back a little bit and kind of pigeonholed. I look for them to not just be kind of the dashboard and report jockeys, but actually help in the analysis of the business because they're so close to the numbers, what's going on with the business and what we see. So they are the heart of my business. They're integrated into everything we do, have a voice. I've got my great RevOps leader, Eric Hoslick, left me a while ago, and we've got a new lady named Jenny He who just joined. She's a great strategist. She's going to be a great, she was on her first forecast with us, stepped right into the forecast and started drilling away on questions. And it was great observations around the business 2 weeks into it. And that's what I expect. I expect them to hold us accountable, to help us innovate and help us grow and improve. I appreciate the function and know it's critical to our success.
Right. And on the forecast side, you're saying when we're prepping the importance of Clary to how
Yeah. I mean, Clary is an amazing tool. I had not used it prior, but everything from my ability to run the forecast with the team and understand the trend lines and how the manager is looking at deals versus how our reps are looking at deals versus how our partner managers are, and then to dissect and split the business is great. And I think we're going to be adopting their Copilot tool. So I look forward to seeing what kind of insights we'll get out of their Copilot as well.
Nice.
Hopefully they'll be a sponsor for you someday.
Yeah, we'll see. And anything else on the kind of tech stack that you're leveraging?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably basic for most folks, but Power BI, we've got some great dashboards that give us really good insight, kind of build, move, close dashboards from a geo level that we can drill right into a rep and understand how the business is performing, where it's coming from, as we look at the different sources of pipe or opportunities. If it's funneling in through the BDR, through the partner team, or if we're hunting for it on the sales side, definitely can see that. And if somebody's struggling, it's a great place to kind of drill into and do some coaching and help them understand, where we need to improve.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's amazing compared. You think back to when you're doing the, Conway and inside sellers and just, whatever amount it's 15 years is kind of night and day difference.
It's massive.
The productivity and the tools and what's available, and to be able to just
we did a lot of work in Excel.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's see here. So just I'll touch on kind of maybe the value relationship. So it seems like internationally, I mean, relationships are obviously important anywhere, but internationally, it's all the more table stakes, needing the requirement more face-to-face. So if you kind of generalize, right? So US business might be more Zoom-centric, not as much face-to-face, not as much relationship-centric. Most international is polar opposite from that today, correct?
Correct. That's absolutely correct. So, the foundation of trust is built in the relationship, like we talked about earlier, and like David North commented on. It's in order to have somebody want to have a dialogue with you around whatever you're trying to sell them. They've got to get to know you and trust you and understand what your interests are. And if you show up and throw up and you're only interested in making $1, you're going to fail. But here, if you take the time to slow down and understand where the pain is, and then it opens up to a conversation that can lead to more personal understanding, to your point, who they are, what's important to them, what about their family. That, and out of me, I think you too, this is probably why I appreciate you, is you're genuinely interested. I mean, you genuinely care. And when you are just interested in people and who they are, things happen, and it's great.
Yeah. It's not hard. Treat people how you want to be treated, right?
Yes, the golden rule works. Yeah.
Novel approach for sure. And what anything special that you do on the kind of the training or kind of sales training side of things, whether it's individual contributor up to your leaders?
Yeah. We've got a couple leadership programs. Again, we're a smaller company, so we're kind of growing and adapting and bringing in programs. So I think we took a step back as a company about a year ago now and decided, hey, one of the gaps that we've had is investing in frontline managers and second level managers and really helping them develop and helping them understand how to invest and grow their teams. So we have a program called SOAR that we've put all of our leaders into. There's a face-to-face component of that, along with an online version. So a reinforcement from a rep perspective and a total team perspective, where we've invested in a new sales methodology, sales process. We're Tricentis, so we call it Triway. And it's really around getting everyone on the team aligned around how do we want to approach a customer? How do we present value to a customer? How do we talk to a customer? And then from a stage perspective, what do our sales stages look like? Just reinforcing kind of some of these basic things that we should be really crisp on. And then finally, we use MedPick, so really drilling in with the team and making sure that we understand kind of the nomenclature, the questions to be asking, and what are the checkpoints along the way.
Got it. Awesome. Well, time flies when you're having fun. You've been a fantastic guest. So for those that know me, I always like to ask at the end any PG Randy story you want to share.
Yeah, I think there's one or two. So as we got to know each other, and you talked about Conway. I mean, one of the great things with you, with the energy that you bring and kind of the passion you bring, was getting you down to Arkansas to meet the team. And the big thing in Arkansas, we had so many kids from Arkansas, was you got to do the Woo Pig Suey. So we had you at an event, and we got you on a stage with some of our Arkansas grads, and we had you screaming Woo Pig Suey. And they loved it. It was electric. And from there, we went to a kickoff, and you let us do it there. It was fantastic. I mean, it was that's what energizes a group like that, and that was a lot of fun.
The little things, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
The little things that add up. So awesome. So fantastic. Really appreciate it. Thanks for Phone Ready Leads for being our sponsor. For those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. For those that are not, feel free to get a free membership there with the link. And I also didn't appreciate you've been an advisory board member since the beginning. So thanks for that. Appreciate your participation. So next week we're going to have, we have Tom Bocard, good title topic, getting max ROI from your events, and sponsored by Smart Source, and another great lineup coming up. I'll highlight, actually have Scott McNeely, October 2nd. So that'll be a good one. Wow. As exchanging notes with him. And I said, hey, I got to have you on my podcast. So anyway, all right, everybody have a great week. Fantastic to see your continued success.
Thanks, Randy.
Personally, family.